Alex had never expected his assignment on Violia to be anything more than a routine job. As a human engineer, he had spent most of his life repairing machines, optimizing systems, and quietly observing. In a galaxy dominated by towering alien civilizations, humans were rare, often underestimated and easily overlooked. Alex had always liked it that way. He preferred shadows to spotlight, logic to drama, and solitude to social gatherings. The city of Violia stretched endlessly before him, its shimmering towers and floating platforms piercing the violet sky. Air traffic hummed softly as sleek spacecrafts glided between buildings, leaving streaks of light behind them. The streets below were alive with a mixture of beings from dozens of planets, all moving with purpose, all seemingly more vibrant and advanced than the humans Alex had grown up among. Yet, to him, it all felt oddly manageable. Patterns existed everywhere if one only looked carefully, and Alex had a talent for seeing patterns that others missed. His mission was simple: supervise the terraforming project in the eastern sector, a massive dome designed to simulate Earth-like conditions for research purposes. It was technical, quiet work. The dome's atmosphere needed perfect balance. Temperature, humidity, oxygen levels, all had to be monitored constantly. The equipment was new, experimental, and notoriously sensitive. One wrong adjustment, and the entire ecosystem inside the dome could fail. Alex liked this kind of pressure. It demanded focus, demanded calm. He had grown used to relying on his mind rather than his physical strength, a trait humans were often criticized for in comparison to alien species. On this particular day, he adjusted the energy regulators and monitored the data streams, his brow furrowed in concentration. The system was performing almost perfectly, and a quiet satisfaction washed over him. For a moment, the hum of machinery and the controlled atmosphere were all that existed. Then, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A figure appeared at the edge of the dome, a human-sized silhouette, but clearly not human. Her skin shimmered with a soft, golden hue, and her hair moved as though a breeze existed only around her. She wore a sleek outfit that seemed both fashionable and practical, with subtle glowing patterns that shifted as she moved. Alex froze. The figure was impossibly elegant, her presence commanding attention without trying. "Excuse me," a melodic voice said. Alex turned fully to face her. The alien's eyes were large and violet, and they seemed to study him with genuine curiosity. She smiled, a smile that seemed to light up the entire control room despite the sterile glow of machinery. "I hope I am not interrupting." Alex shook his head, still unsure how to respond. No, not at all," he said. His voice sounded small even to himself. "I was just running a check on the regulators." The alien stepped closer, tilting her head in that subtle way that made every gesture appear deliberate. "You are human," she said, her tone filled with wonder rather than judgment. "I have never met a human so precise." Alex raised an eyebrow. "That's a compliment." "It is," she said simply. "I am Lyria." Her name was like a soft chime, perfectly balanced and impossible to forget. "I study technology, though I am better known in other areas." She gestured gracefully to the city outside. "I am something of a public figure, but you," she paused, studying him again. "You are exceptional." Alex felt his face warm. Compliments from anyone could be unsettling, but from someone like Lyria, it was nearly overwhelming. Humans were rare, and to be noticed by an alien celebrity, someone whose images were broadcast across multiple systems, was something he never imagined. Yet he reminded himself to stay calm. Admiration, no matter the source, did not change the need for careful work. Over the next several hours, Alex continued his monitoring while Lyria followed him quietly, asking subtle questions about the equipment and the systems. She did not act as though she already knew everything. She was genuinely curious. Her attention was not intrusive. It was keen, intelligent, and almost playful. Alex realized that beneath the surface elegance and celebrity, there was a mind interested in understanding, not just being entertained. What would happen, she asked suddenly, if the energy regulators went out of sync? Alex blinked, thinking through the consequences carefully. If they fail, the atmosphere inside the dome could become unstable. Temperatures could spike or drop, oxygen levels could fluctuate. Any living organisms we've introduced could be harmed or even die. He paused. It's unlikely, but it is why I monitor everything constantly. She nodded slowly. Humans, you seem calm even when facing danger. Alex was about to respond when a soft alarm sounded from the console. A small pulse had gone through the energy grid, one that Alex had not anticipated. He rushed to adjust the regulators, trying to stabilize the system. Lyria stepped back, watching silently, but her eyes reflected fascination rather than fear. The pulse, harmless to humans but potentially dangerous to Virelian systems, had been minor, but noticeable. After several tense moments, Alex managed to stabilize the dome. The temperature normalized, the energy levels returned to balance, and the soft hum of the equipment resumed. He let out a long breath, rubbing his temples. "You did that well," Lyria said quietly. "You did not panic. You handled it." Alex shrugged, uncomfortable with praise. "It's just work, nothing special." She laughed softly, the sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "No, you are special. Humans are often underestimated, I think. I have never met one like you before." The rest of the day passed in a strange combination of routine and curiosity. Lyria accompanied Alex to various sections of the dome, asking questions, making notes, observing quietly. She was not trying to show off her fame, she was learning. And Alex, despite himself, felt a flicker of something he had rarely experienced, a connection with someone utterly different from him, someone brilliant, yet respectful. That evening, as Alex prepared to leave, Lyria approached him with a hesitant expression. "Tomorrow there is an event," she said softly. "I would like you to come, just to watch. You do not have to speak, just be there." Alex frowned. I am not good at these things." "You are good at understanding," she said. "That is enough." He hesitated. Normally, he would decline invitations. He preferred safety, solitude, and certainty. Yet something about Lyria's request, about the way she trusted him without question, made him agree. The next day's event was a glittering gala, filled with beings from across the galaxy. Ships hovered outside, screens projected live feeds, and thousands of fans followed every movement of Lyria. Alex stuck to the shadows, unnoticed by the majority, as he observed the delicate balance of alien society. It was chaotic, overwhelming, and completely different from anything on Earth. Yet he noticed patterns, who moved where, which protocols were followed, how beings reacted to stimuli. As the gala reached its peak, a sudden disturbance occurred. One of the energy crystals powering a display began to crack. Lyria's entourage panicked, and the audience's attention shifted in alarm. Alex didn't think, he reacted. Moving swiftly through the crowd, he reached the crystal, stabilizing it with improvised adjustments and careful calculations. The display resumed without damage, unnoticed by most, but Lyria's eyes shone with admiration. "You," she whispered later, when the chaos had subsided. "You saved it, you are remarkable." Alex shook his head, feeling embarrassed. "It was nothing, just careful calculation." "No," she said, stepping closer. "It was courage. You act when others hesitate. That is human strength." For the first time in his life, Alex felt a weight of responsibility. It was not just about machines or systems. It was about people. And somehow, in a galaxy filled with beings far more powerful than him, he realized that humans had a value that could not be measured by size, strength, or celebrity. Then came the unexpected message. Lyria's personal assistant, a small hovering drone, approached Alex discreetly. "Miss Lyria requests your attention," it said. "There is a private matter to discuss. Urgent." Confused, Alex followed. Lyria led him to a quiet chamber away from the public eye. Her expression was unusually serious. "Alex, something has happened," she said. Her violet eyes searched his face. "It is unusual and it involves you," he frowned. "Me? How? What?" She took a deep breath. "I am carrying a life, and you are connected to it." "You are the father human," Alex froze. The words made no sense. Father human? How could this be? He opened his mouth, then closed it, unable to form a coherent question. Lyria smiled softly as though reading his thoughts. "I know it is hard to believe. I did not expect it either, but it is true. The biology of my species, it requires a partner with specific traits. You have them." Alex's mind raced. Logic, patterns, probability, all failed to explain the situation. And yet, even in the face of impossibility, he noticed something familiar. Calm. He had faced impossible systems, unstable energy grids, alien machinery far beyond human comprehension. And somehow, he knew that panic would not help now. He would have to act. As the chamber doors closed behind him, Alex realized that his quiet, careful life on Vyrlia had changed forever. Humans were rare, underestimated, and yet here he was chosen. And the story of his courage, his intelligence, and his humanity was only beginning. Alex could not stop thinking about Lyria's words. The moment she told him he was the father, his mind raced through possibilities, explanations, and doubts. Humans were rare on Vyrlia, and he had never encountered alien biology in such depth. Yet the truth of the situation pressed on him with undeniable weight. He had to understand, he had to act, and he had to protect her. Lyria, on the other hand, seemed calm, almost radiant. She moved with her usual grace, but there was a new seriousness in her violet eyes. She trusted Alex, and that trust carried with it a quiet command. He must rise to the challenge. The next morning, the city of Vyrlia buzzed louder than usual. Word of Lyria's private announcement had leaked, and whispers of the human father circulated across social networks and interstellar media. Alex tried to stay unnoticed, but it was impossible. Everywhere he went, beings looked at him with curiosity, some with admiration, others with suspicion. Being human was rare. Being the father of a celebrity alien's child was unheard of. He was escorted to Lyria's private residence for safety, a sleek tower overlooking the city. The structure seemed to float above the ground, held aloft by invisible energy fields. Inside, the walls glimmered softly, responding to light and sound in subtle ways. Everything was alien, yet there was a strange elegance that made Alex feel welcome rather than overwhelmed. Lyria greeted him with a gentle smile. "I know this is a lot," she said, "but you do not have to face it alone. I want you here with me." Alex nodded. I want to understand. I need to know how this works." Over the next hours, she explained her biology, carefully translating complex processes into terms a human could understand. Vyrlians carried life differently from humans, but the principle was clear. The child within her required someone with traits humans uniquely possessed, traits that were rare even among her own species. Traits of resilience, adaptability, and quick thinking. Traits that Alex had displayed countless times in his work. He listened attentively, absorbing the details. Instead of fear, he felt a strange determination. Humans were often underestimated, overlooked in a galaxy dominated by towering, powerful species. Yet here in this alien society, his very existence had become vital. He realized that this was not just about biology. It was about proving the value of human ingenuity and courage. As days passed, Alex adapted to Lyria's routines. He learned to monitor her health, track her vitals, and assist in maintaining her environment. His engineering skills, combined with careful observation, allowed him to create small devices that stabilized her energy levels and monitored the child's growth. Lyria was amazed. "No alien engineer has done this," she said one evening, her violet eyes glowing softly. "You are extraordinary." Meanwhile, the outside world was growing restless. Reporters, media drones, and curious onlookers swarmed every area near Lyria. Social networks exploded with speculation, some celebrating the union of human and alien, others questioning its legitimacy. Alex, used to quiet work, was overwhelmed, but he refused to panic. Instead, he observed the chaos, mapped patterns, and devised strategies to keep Lyria safe. One afternoon, a particularly aggressive media drone attempted to breach the residence's security. Alex had anticipated the possibility and adjusted the defense systems in advance. As the drone approached, it was intercepted by a subtle energy field that redirected it harmlessly into a containment area. Lyria watched, impressed. "You think of everything," she said. Alex shook his head. "I just look for patterns. Chaos can be managed if you understand it." Her admiration deepened, not just for his skill but for his calm under pressure. She had interacted with countless beings who sought fame, influence, or power, yet Alex remained grounded, focused on what truly mattered. Then came a new challenge. The Interstellar Council, a governing body overseeing cross-species interactions, demanded DNA verification and public acknowledgement. They doubted that a human could biologically contribute to a Virelian child, and they questioned Alex's competence. He faced an intimidating array of alien officials, all scrutinizing his every move. Alex remained composed. Using his human logic and careful reasoning, he explained his actions, demonstrated his understanding of Lyria's physiology, and even proposed innovative solutions to potential complications. The council, initially skeptical, began to recognize his brilliance. Not because of strength or size, but because of intellect, empathy, and courage. While bureaucracy challenged him, Lyria faced physical strains from her pregnancy. She moved more slowly, her energy fluctuated unpredictably, and subtle health risks emerged. Alex took it upon himself to create monitoring systems and adjust her environment, blending human ingenuity with alien technology. Each success strengthened the bond between them. Lyria began to rely on him not just as the father of her child, but as a protector and partner. The growing tension came to a head during a high-profile gala. Lyria was to appear before the public to announce the pregnancy officially. Rival supermodels, envious of her fame and influence, plotted to disrupt the event. One such rival attempted to sabotage the holographic display, a critical part of the gala's presentation. Alex, observing patterns and anticipating risks, intercepted the sabotage before it caused harm. Using quick adjustments and improvised solutions, he stabilized the display in seconds. The audience never noticed the danger, but Lyria did. Her eyes shone with admiration and she whispered, "You saved this. You saved me." The gala was a success, and the public reaction was mixed but overwhelmingly fascinated. A human had performed what no alien could, navigating technology, danger, and social chaos with calm intelligence. For Alex, it was a reminder that human traits, adaptability, patience, and ingenuity, were valuable even in a galaxy full of powerful species. Despite the success, Alex remained aware of the challenges ahead. The pregnancy was advancing. The council demanded ongoing oversight, and rival factions remained watchful. He knew that protecting Lyria and their future child would require constant vigilance, clever thinking, and sometimes daring action. Yet he felt ready. Humans might be small and underestimated, but they were capable of extraordinary feats when guided by intellect and heart. In quiet moments, Lyria and Alex shared conversations about life, culture, and humanity. She was fascinated by Earth, by human history and resilience. He, in turn, learned about Virelian society, its elegance, and its complexities. Through these exchanges, a deep respect and affection developed, a partnership forged not through necessity but through mutual admiration. One evening, as the violet sky deepened and city lights shimmered, Lyria turned to Alex. "I am grateful," she said softly, "for your calm, your courage, for being human." Alex smiled faintly, feeling a warmth he had never experienced. "I am glad I can help," he replied. "Humans are small, yes, but we adapt, we survive, and sometimes we surprise even ourselves." As the night deepened, Alex reflected on the events of the past weeks. He had entered an alien world quietly, expecting routine work. Instead, he had found purpose, responsibility, and the challenge of protecting life in ways he never imagined. The future was uncertain, full of potential danger and intrigue, yet for the first time he felt a sense of belonging, not just among humans but across the stars. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet determination burned. He would rise to the challenge, not through brute force or celebrity, but through human intelligence, courage, and empathy. He would prove that even in a galaxy dominated by towering species and dazzling technology, humans had a place, a role, and a strength that could not be ignored. The chapter ended, not with resolution, but with the promise of trials yet to come. Rival factions, public scrutiny, and the mysteries of Virelian biology awaited. Alex understood that the path ahead would test him in ways he had never known, yet he felt ready. After all, humans had always thrived against odds that seemed insurmountable, and he intended to show the galaxy why. The city of Virelia had grown more restless over the past few weeks. The revelation that a human was the father of the child carried by the most famous alien in the galaxy had spread like wildfire. Crowds gathered outside Lyria's residence, media drones hovered overhead, and even some Virelian officials whispered doubts about the human's ability to handle the situation. Alex, however, remained focused. He had learned to ignore the distractions, relying on careful observation, logic, and preparation. Every system he installed, every adjustment he made, was calculated to keep Lyria safe. Yet, he knew the challenges ahead would not come from machines or technology alone. Jealous rivals and social pressures posed risks that required vigilance, foresight, and human ingenuity. That morning, Lyria greeted him with a quiet smile. "You have been here every day," she said, her voice soft but sincere. "Even when the world doubts you, you remain calm." "That is why I trust you," Alex nodded. "It is not about trust, it is about understanding. Patterns exist even in chaos, I just follow them." Her eyes reflected both admiration and curiosity. "Humans are fascinating. You do not seek attention, yet you achieve things that others cannot." Before Alex could respond, an urgent alert sounded from the security system. One of the energy stabilizers in the upper floors of the residence had begun to fluctuate dangerously. Lyria winced. The stabilizers were critical. If they failed, the entire building could be at risk. Alex moved immediately, analyzing the data on his portable console. The fluctuation was not natural, it was deliberate. Someone had tampered with the system. His heart pounded, but his mind remained calm. He would not panic. He traced the interference to a rival faction of supermodels and public figures who sought to discredit Lyria. Their plan was subtle but dangerous. Create an energy surge that would endanger Lyria during a critical stage of her pregnancy. Alex's fingers flew over the console as he recalibrated the system, improvising protective protocols that even the tampering party had not anticipated. Lyria watched silently, her violet eyes wide with a mixture of fear and admiration. "Alex, how do you remain so calm?" He did not answer. There was no time. His focus was absolute, his mind racing through every possible scenario. Within moments, the energy levels stabilized, the residence hummed safely, and the threat passed. Alex stepped back, wiping his brow. "It is done," he said simply. Lyria approached him, placing a delicate hand on his arm. "You saved everything, again." You are remarkable, human." Alex shook his head. "I just observe, I just calculate, that is all." But deep down, he understood something fundamental. Humans survived and thrived not through raw power but through intelligence, adaptability, and courage. That was why he had succeeded where others, more powerful or famous, might have failed. Days later, the Interstellar Council demanded a formal demonstration of Alex's abilities. They were skeptical that a human could truly handle the responsibilities he now faced. He was summoned to a council chamber, an immense hall filled with alien species of all shapes and sizes. Some towers over him, others had multiple limbs, yet all regarded him with expectation, curiosity, or thinly veiled doubt. Alex took a deep breath. He had faced complex machinery, energy surges, and social chaos. Now he faced judgment, but he knew the same principles applied: observe, understand, and act. The council presented a scenario, a simulated emergency involving a critical energy system, one that controlled life support for hundreds of beings. The system was deliberately overloaded, designed to test Alex's ability to respond. Alex analyzed the problem carefully. The overload would trigger a cascading failure if not managed properly. He first stabilized the main energy flow, then redirected power to critical subsystems, and finally created temporary reserves using a method adapted from human engineering principles. Within minutes, the simulation indicated complete stabilization. The council murmured in surprise. "Impressive," one said. "He has solved the problem without conventional Virelian methods." Another leaned forward. "He uses logic, intuition, and adaptation. This is human thinking. It is effective." Alex did not seek approval, but a small sense of satisfaction passed through him. He had proven that human ingenuity was not only capable but sometimes superior in situations where traditional methods failed. Meanwhile, Lyria's health required increasing attention. The pregnancy was progressing rapidly, and her energy fluctuated unpredictably. Some stages of her biology were unlike anything Alex had encountered, yet he applied his skills with diligence, learning quickly. He adapted medical devices, created monitoring systems, and even designed protective environments that responded dynamically to her needs. One evening, a particularly dangerous complication arose. Lyria's vital energy levels dropped unexpectedly. Alien doctors were puzzled, unable to find a solution that would stabilize her safely. Alex, however, noticed a pattern in the fluctuations, a subtle interaction between her energy field and the building's stabilizers. With careful calculations, he created a makeshift stabilizing device, blending human engineering with alien technology. He positioned it near Lyria and activated it. Slowly, her energy levels returned to normal. The doctors watched in awe. Lyria's hand found his, her touch both thankful and tender. "You saved me," she whispered. Alex shook his head. "It is not just me, it is observation, adaptation, understanding." The bond between them deepened. Lyria no longer saw him merely as the father of her child or as an assistant. She saw a human who was capable, reliable, and intelligent, a being worthy of trust, admiration, and respect. Tensions escalated further when rival factions attempted a direct attack. During a public celebration, a group of saboteurs tried to manipulate energy systems in the surrounding city, hoping to create panic and discredit Lyria. Alex, having anticipated such moves, acted swiftly. He guided Lyria to safety while remotely stabilizing the city's systems. Using a combination of improvised human techniques and alien technology, he prevented disaster, averting damage and saving countless lives. The public, unaware of the danger they had just avoided, cheered the event, but Lyria knew the truth. "You are incredible," she said quietly as they watched the city lights flicker safely below. "You are calm, you are clever, you are human." Alex smiled faintly, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the quiet pride of accomplishment. Humanity often seemed insignificant in a galaxy of towering, advanced species. Yet here, His intelligence, patience, and courage had made a difference. He realized that humans were rare not because of weakness, but because of subtle strengths that others often overlooked. Days later, Lyria experienced another complication. Her energy fluctuations intensified, and she required constant monitoring. Alex designed a specialized suit that regulated her energy, adjusting automatically to her physiology. He spent hours calibrating it, ensuring every mechanism responded precisely. Lyria, watching him work, felt a deep respect and affection. "You are not just a human," she said softly. "You are my partner in every way that matters." Alex, ever modest, shook his head. "I am only doing what is necessary, but I am glad I can help." Evenings were spent quietly, away from crowds and media scrutiny. They shared stories, discussed cultures, and laughed softly. Lyria taught him about her world, its history, and its subtle complexities. Alex shared stories of Earth, of human perseverance, and of ingenuity born from adversity. Through these exchanges, a bond formed that was both practical and profound. The climax of Part 3 arrived when an unexpected energy storm threatened the entire city. Lightning-like pulses struck the towers, causing widespread instability. Lyria's residence, perched high above the city, was at risk. Alex did not hesitate. He coordinated emergency protocols, stabilized critical energy systems, and guided Lyria to secure areas within the building. Using quick thinking and human problem-solving, he created temporary shields and rerouted power to prevent damage. Hours passed in tense silence, each moment testing his intellect and composure. When the storm finally passed, the city was largely intact. Lyria's health remained stable, and the child inside her was safe. The experience left both of them shaken but also more confident in their partnership. "You did it," Lyria said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You saved me, the child, and the city. You are extraordinary." Alex looked at her calmly. "I just observed, I just acted." That is all humans can do. But he knew it was more than that. Humans thrived not because of size or strength, but because of courage, intellect, and adaptability. He had proven that, in a galaxy full of powerful beings, humans could make a difference when it mattered most. As the night settled over Violia, Alex reflected on the weeks that had passed. From a quiet engineer to a human whose abilities were recognized and relied upon by an alien celebrity and an entire city, his life had changed in ways he never imagined. Challenges would continue, rivals would emerge, and dangers would persist, but he felt ready. Humans had always risen to the occasion, and he was no exception, and somewhere deep within, he felt a quiet confidence. He had faced chaos, danger, and skepticism, and had emerged not just unscathed, but respected. The story was far from over, yet for the first time, he understood the true value of humanity in the galaxy. The days following the storm were quieter, though tension still lingered over Violia. Alex had proven himself capable, yet the world remained watchful. The interstellar media and public eyes were ever present, curious to see how a human could continue to meet the demands of such an extraordinary situation. Alex had grown accustomed to scrutiny, but the stakes now felt higher than ever. The child's safety, Lyria's well-being, and his own place in this alien society weighed on him constantly. Lyria moved carefully through her daily routine, her energy slowly returning to steadier rhythms, thanks largely to Alex's careful monitoring and innovations. Despite the care and attention surrounding her, she found herself more relaxed when he was near. She trusted him implicitly, not just with the child, but with her own life. "You have a steady mind," she told him one morning, her voice soft as sunlight. "It is why I can rest, even in chaos," Alex nodded. "Observing, calculating, adjusting, that is all it takes. Any human could do it with the same focus." But Lyria shook her head. "No human I have met could manage this. You are different." The next few weeks were filled with preparation. The Interstellar Council demanded constant updates on Lyria's health and the child's progress, while rival factions continued to watch for any mistakes. Alex spent his days fine-tuning the protective systems, designing adaptive devices, and learning more about Virelian biology. He applied his human problem-solving skills in ways no alien had considered, finding solutions that combined logic, intuition, and courage. Then came the day of the official announcement, the moment when Lyria would publicly declare the human father to the galaxy. The city was alive with anticipation. Holographic displays flashed news updates, and crowds gathered in every available space to witness the event. Reporters and dignitaries arrived from planets across the system. The stakes could not have been higher. Alex felt a quiet tension in his chest. Despite the confidence he had built, public scrutiny on this scale was daunting. Yet he reminded himself of the lessons he had learned over the past weeks. Stay calm, observe patterns, act with intelligence, and trust in the skills that had carried him this far. The gala hall was grand, a spectacle of light, technology, and alien elegance. Lyria appeared, radiant and poised, moving gracefully among the crowd. When she approached the podium, Alex followed quietly, staying slightly behind. Cameras focused on her, recording her every movement, yet her attention found him. Her violet eyes locked onto his, conveying trust, admiration, and affection. "Citizens of Virelia," Lyria began, her voice carrying across the hall, clear and commanding, yet gentle. "Many of you know me as a model, a public figure, but today I stand before you to share something far more important. I am carrying a life, and the father is a human. A man whose courage, intelligence, and humanity have been tested and proven in ways none of you could imagine. His name is Alex." A murmur ran through the crowd, a mixture of shock, curiosity, and excitement. Humans were rare, and for one to be honored in such a way was unprecedented. Alex felt his cheeks warm, but he stood tall, letting Lyria's words sink in. The council members, initially skeptical, watched with quiet respect. Alex had faced challenges, danger, and scrutiny, and he had succeeded through intellect, adaptability, and courage. That same human strength now shone before the entire galaxy. After the announcement, the gala turned into a celebration of ingenuity and courage. But celebration could not last long. The pregnancy was reaching a critical stage, and Lyria required constant care. Alex continued his meticulous monitoring, blending human innovation with alien technology to ensure both mother and child remained safe. One evening, as the city's lights twinkled like a sea of stars below, Lyria experienced sudden discomfort. Alex immediately acted, guiding her to a safe chamber and activating emergency stabilization systems. Her energy levels fluctuated rapidly, and the alien medical team was unsure of the cause. Alex studied the data, noticing subtle patterns in the energy shifts. Using quick reasoning and improvisation, he created a temporary stabilizer that regulated her energy and protected the child. The fluctuation ceased, and Lyria's vital signs returned to normal. She looked at him with deep gratitude. "You saved us again," she whispered. Alex shook his head, his voice steady. "I only applied logic. Humans can adapt, and I acted." Days passed, and the final stage approached. The birth was imminent. Lyria's energy levels were carefully monitored, her environment stabilized, and Alex remained by her side, calm and vigilant. The public awaited news with bated breath, unaware of the delicate processes taking place behind closed doors. Finally, the moment arrived. Lyria's energy surged and stabilized repeatedly, signaling the beginning of the birth. The alien medical team worked swiftly, but the unique nature of the child's biology required Alex's careful attention. He guided the procedures, adapted devices, and applied human reasoning to ensure a smooth process. Hours passed, tense but filled with meticulous action. And then the child was born, a tiny being, radiant and strong, carrying traits of both human adaptability and Virelian elegance. The room was silent for a moment, then filled with sighs of relief and quiet admiration. Lyria held the child carefully, her eyes moist with emotion. She turned to Alex, her expression radiant. "You are the father," she said, her voice trembling with joy and gratitude. "You are part of this life. You made this possible." Alex felt a mixture of awe, pride, and humility. He had entered this alien world quietly, never expecting to play such a role. And yet, through careful observation, intelligence, and courage, he had not only protected life but demonstrated the value of humanity itself. Word of the successful birth spread quickly. The public reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Humans had always been underestimated, but now the galaxy witnessed firsthand their ingenuity, patience, and quiet strength. Alex, once an unassuming engineer, had become a symbol of human capability and resilience. In the days that followed, Alex and Lyria settled into a new rhythm. The child thrived, their health carefully monitored and stabilized. Lyria's energy returned to steadier levels, thanks to Alex's continued innovations and attentiveness. The couple shared quiet moments of bonding, discussing the child's growth, their plans, and the remarkable journey that had brought them together. "You have changed my world," Lyria said one evening, her voice soft as she watched the child sleep. "Not just because of the child, but because of who you are. You are human, and yet you are extraordinary." Alex smiled faintly, feeling the warmth of accomplishment. "Humans are small, yes, but we observe, adapt, and endure. And when we care, we act. That is all it takes." The city of Virelia celebrated the birth not only as the arrival of a new life, but as a triumph of human ingenuity and courage. Across the galaxy, stories spread of the quiet human engineer who had faced alien scrutiny, public attention, and extraordinary challenges, and had succeeded through intellect, calm, and heart. Alex understood that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just an engineer or an observer. He was a father, a protector, and a symbol of humanity in a galaxy that had once underestimated his kind. Lyria remained by his side, their partnership grounded in trust, respect, and shared responsibility. Together, they faced the future with confidence, knowing that the child they had brought into the world carried the best of both species, human adaptability and Virelian brilliance. And as the stars glittered in the sky above Virelia, Alex reflected on the journey. He had entered the galaxy quietly, expecting routine work, only to discover a purpose far greater than he had ever imagined. Humans, he realized, had an unparalleled strength, not in sheer power or fame, but in intelligence, courage, and the capacity to act when it mattered most. The story concluded not with an end but with a beginning. Alex had proven the value of humanity, and the galaxy had taken notice. Lyria, radiant and strong, smiled at him. "You are the father human," she repeated, joy filling her voice. "And I am proud of you." Alex, standing quietly beside her, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced chaos, danger, and skepticism, and emerged not only unscathed but celebrated. The child slept peacefully, a symbol of hope, intelligence, and courage. And in that moment, Alex understood that humanity's quiet strength could shine in the darkest corners of the galaxy, proving that even the smallest beings could leave the largest mark. The future stretched ahead, full of potential, challenges, and adventure. Yet Alex felt ready. He had faced impossible odds, saved life, and earned the trust of beings far more advanced than himself. Humans had survived, adapted, and thrived for millennia. Now, on Virelia, the galaxy had witnessed firsthand why humanity could never be underestimated.